Hello and welcome to SuperCoach Edge for the round 17 review and round 18 preview. Of course, the big news heading into the round was the pink sweaty pig himself, Clarry Oliver, once again being put out to pasture for a further 3 to 4 weeks after a setback in his recovery from a hamstring injury. It really did leave us all asking. Well, then I'll pass the baton to you to finish off that chant that usually follows that part of the song. What is it? No way.
Are we allowed to swear on YouTube? I don't know anymore.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. No way, get fucked. Fuck off.
And if we're not allowed to, I'll have to go back and just go beep,
Just beep, beep.
Yeah. And it could
There
be
was this
anything.
Pack to the Rafters episode where they decided to like there was no context as to
relevance?
why they listened to this song. And then of course they like you when you played this song, they like it was a live gig. And then they of course have the chant. And I was like, it was like, no way. And I was like, oh, this is like a family show. And then they were like, get stuff off. And I was like, oh, come on. Come on. But also like, why choose that? Like there was no context as to why they needed to play that song specifically for the show.
Makes no sense.
It was just such a
They're
weird.
going for something edgy. Was it when Pack to the Rafters came back and it was, what was it called? Something to the...
No. It was in the original run. It was just, it made no sense.
Okay.
Made no sense. Got so many questions about it. But anyway.
Trying to like reference like something in, I guess, the pop culture side of things, as we do on every episode, but we kind of work it in a bit more organically and comedically and everything else with that reference itself. So that's quite meta of us in a roundabout way.
There we go. But anyway, this round we also had some late drama. I did, especially with Ridley going down with what looked to be a pretty nasty knee injury. But thankfully he has been cleared of any serious damage, having only sustained bone bruising. I don't know why I quoted that, but
that's it. That's what they quoted.
It is what it is.
Yep.
And Essendon said it's an outside chance to play this weekend.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. On the other side, we've also got Sarong, who's going to miss this week. You'd expect, having been offered 1 week, and the 20% of owners will be sweating on that. So we'll have to wait and see if Freo challenges, but given the strike rate for successful appeals, it seems like there's a very slim chance of that actually being overturned.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And we were chatting about it pre-record here, and I obviously was watching the game because I'm a baggers man through and through, but I didn't even notice it live. And then they showed the replay of it in the reverse angle. And unfortunately, even though it doesn't look like a sling tackle itself, he does hit his head. And as we know, with the AFL, they're just literally based off circumstance. If anyone hits their head, doesn't matter if they get injured, they just like to outplay us based off that. So yeah, as you said, I reckon it's going to be pretty slim, unfortunately, for those owners of Strong. But in more pleasing news, Liam, that really did sneak up on us.
Like a librarian.
And we've actually had our last round of DPB editions. It really came from out of nowhere. I know we had a question last week. What was the sort of updates with DPP? How does it sit? But really, there wasn't any articles at all. Like through the Herald Sun, couldn't find anything. Other sort of AFL Fantasy and SuperCoach news outlets couldn't find anything. So I think a lot of people have just caught us all by surprise. But I think it does show that really we aren't hinging upon it as much compared to early in the season. But we did see a couple of big names miss out yet again, but also a couple of big names to be given some handy DPP status for the run home. So, of course, we'll jump into that throughout this episode. But first up, of course, if you're not following us on socials where we post the latest news, post-match, SuperCoach scores, and the odd meme or two, you can do so via Twitter, which is at SuperCoach_Edge. You can find myself at DamoJ88. You can find Liam at Liam Evans _95. Gee whiz, got me. Yeah, absolutely got me. I was about to read out your old one. About to unravel the scroll. Then we've got Facebook, just search SuperCoach Edge, and likewise Insta and TikTok. And we haven't really created an account on Threads yet. I don't know if anyone is actually using it. I heard a bit of mixed reviews about Threads.
I've
Are you
jumped
on there?
on.
Yeah.
I've jumped on, but I
See what
haven't
it
used
is.
it.
See what the
To be
hype's all
heavily
about.
honest, like I've kind of
Yeah.
just. It feels weird. It feels like Twitter mixed with Facebook.
Yeah. Okay.
And it kind of like having a scroll through it kind of feels like really early days Facebook or really early days Twitter, where people are just like, I had lunch today.
Oh, yeah. So if you
And
don't
you're
have any
like,
friends,
yeah,
it's
it's
like you're
kind
just
of,
talking into the ether. Like there's
yeah, there's not really
no
any,
interactions.
yeah, it's kind of weird at this stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, we'll create an account for those people that are on there, but yeah, probably not as active as what we are on Twitter. I think that's pretty much just the our bread and butter.
Yep.
And yeah, obviously a lot of people are following us on that already, but who knows? Twitter may just implode at any moment. And I'd be glad to see it do so off the back of Elon Musk just being an absolute dickhead. But anyway, that's that.
I don't know how you stuff it up so bad.
Mm.
This is just a total tangent. The more I find out about him, though, the more I'm like, you just are not a good businessman. And it makes no sense.
He's a terrible. I don't know how he like. Supposedly his IQ is like in the 150s. Like honestly, for someone that's so smart, he's so dumb. Like to inherit such a like multi-million, bordering probably on billion, dollar venture with Twitter. Like he's just pissed his money up against the wall because he's driving it right into the ground. Lost
Yeah.
all like the advertising and stuff through businesses that were on there. But the best was one of my mates sent me this actually this morning, a screenshot of him tweeting, Zuck is a cuck. And then also, I propose a literal dick measuring contest. Like, cool, mate. Like, I know you're trying to be like cool and hip, but you're coming across as an absolute dweeb more than anything. Like,
Yeah.
it's just so dumb.
Yeah. He gives me like just that. He's like the
Cringeworthy.
nerd that's like kind of friends with the cool people and is just like
Yeah.
trying to be edgy all the time to like. Anyway.
Yeah,
Total tangent here,
but
total tangent. But let's jump into the first segment.
Yes.
With the usual recap in the good, the bad, and the ugly. For those new to our show, in the good, the bad, and the ugly, we roll through some of the more notable and the more forgettable performances across this round of SuperCoach. We touch on our own teams and how they've performed and how we are going with our head-to-head rivalry as we wrestle for the ultimate supremacy.
For people listening to the podcast, I was just mouthing it out. So I'd kind of like push you into saying
I was watching you. I was watching you.
You were taking your time, so I had to keep repeating myself. Very good, very good. The ultimate supremacy. It rolls on. The show rolls on, as they say on The Wolf of Wall Street. But let's kick it off with the good, of course, and it is Rowan Marshall. So Romo, he put in a massive display. Many of us, I think, didn't really think was on the cards, considering he was facing the formidable duo in Gaundy. But he, of course, blew us away with a 149. So a very nice performance by Romo.
Yes, very nice indeed. Moving on to the bad, and it's Tom Green. And I think it's fair. Score of 73. Probably almost could have been pushed into the ugly there.
Yeah, very true.
But he did have a round to forget, posting a season low disposal count of just 17. Very low from Tom Green. So we'll be hoping that he bounces back next week against Adelaide.
And season low output as well, 73 points. Just not good enough, Greeny. Not good
enough. This
enough.
stage of the season.
I don't know if he was feeling a bit green during the match and it was a bit off, but who knows? It's a poor joke. But let's round it out with the ugly, and just like that ugly joke there, Jack Zeeble starting as the sub. Now, Liam, you brought this to my attention, so you can weigh in here as well. But we both agreed it was one of the more stranger situations. This is probably, a bit bordering on SuperCoach, but more just general footy chat. But I just think, an old, slow defender being started as a sub just didn't make any sense at all. But it did, of course, work out for them with North, but just with the fact that Griffin Logue went down with a knee injury, and it's come out that unfortunately he's going to miss the next 12 months due to, I think it's an ACL he might have hurt. But on a SuperCoach side of things, I just wasn't happy with him cramping Sheasel style when he did come on. So that was the main SuperCoach takeaway there. So just stay on the bench or just don't play, Jay-Z, because you're ruining us.
Yeah, it was weird. I don't know. I think it's frustrating for owners as well, because someone like Jay-Z being the sub, it just you don't know what's going to happen. It could come on with 10 minutes to go in the last, could come on, 2 minutes in because, someone's done a shoulder or done a knee, whatever. Just feels like a waste, and you have to rely on someone like a Chesser, or you have to rely on a Marek potentially, because you assume that they're going to get a whole game or, get most of the game, compared to Jay-Z, who, you don't know what's going to happen. It's very frustrating.
Especially in a week where obviously Dunkley didn't play. So for those people that stretched pretty thin already. And if you've got Jay-Z up forward, and if he can't swing with his DPP, you kind of painted into a corner. So Rats, mate, just step on out. And we'll get into the effect that Ratton's had on Sheasel as well when we chat about him later in the trade segment. But let's kick it off with our recap of our own weeks, Liam. And for myself, I ended up scoring a very, very nice week. And I will kick it off by saying, hallelujah. So I finally cracked the top 1K after around, I reckon, 7 to 8 weeks of banging on the door. And finally, Hodor, aka Sean Darcy, of course, he's just kindly let me in. I reckon he just became a little bit tired. He's like, you know what, mate, just come on in. I'm sick of you banging down the door. Yeah, exactly. But I ended up scoring at 2,589 and rose up 158 spots to now sit, get this, a nice round number of 900th on the dot.
That's nice.
Overall. It's even sweeter with that round number, I reckon. You just look at it and it just gives you just a bit of a warm, fuzzy feeling in the stomach. I don't know.
Nice. I like
really
that.
Good. But it was, of course, the first round of having a full Primo side, with Mills coming in as my M8 courtesy of Briggs. However, technically, I guess I was still without a full Primo team on the park with Dunkley on the sidelines, which meant I had to field our boy, Seamus Mitchell, for a score of 55. So it could have been better, but wasn't the worst. So I did actually have the option of, and I mentioned this to you over the weekend, of putting Chincotta on field because I had Seamus Mitchell as the emergency on the bench just in case he got injured. But I was like, no, I probably won't. But it turns out that I gained an extra 10 points by playing Seamus ahead of Chincotta. So it worked out for the best there. Meanwhile, Neil went bananas like we had all hoped. So locked in his score of 142 as my VC captaincy score. And he definitely was the Lord of the Hobbits for the round. Just channeling my inner Gollum. I don't think I've done that for a little while. I think I did it maybe a couple of times last season.
I haven't had a Gollum appearance in a while.
He was a good little hobbit. Thank you, Gollum, as he walks out the door. Bit of a next up we'll have Franco Cozzo coming back very, very soon, don't you worry. But I also had 11 other running back. Maybe a bit of a combo. Franco
back
Cozzo
to the finals.
Maybe Franco Cozzo maybe Gollum speaking in a Franco Cozzo voice, like with his lingo. Il Modernissimo. But I also had 11 other 119 plus scores across the round in my team, with 14 players turning up in total. So it was super handy across my team and happy enough with the round overall. As always, for a full insight into my team in greater detail and the strategies I am adopting to climb the ranks from here on out, catch this week's edition of Damo's Team Talk here on our YouTube channel. So check that out if you're keen for a bit more content, if you're hungry, thirsty, juice, all that sort of stuff.
Pure juice.
Liam, how did you go on the weekend?
Yeah, not too bad. I did score 2,509, so not quite up there with you. 80 points down. And I did manage to go up the rankings, 110 spots to sit nice. 6,540 overall, I guess. 6,5. Every time I feel like I'm going to say the wrong number. I'm going to be like 654 or something. Anyway, this was a weird week, I'd say, overall for me. I had sort of both sides of the spectrum. I had, great scores across the ground, like Dacos's 139, had Neil's 142, Marshall's 149, and Goulden's 143. But also, I had Sheasel score of 65, Ridley was subbed for a score of 80, and Tom Green scored 73. But I think the real cherry on top of the cake was the only trade I made this week. I opted to bring in Mills at the expense of for what he scored 99. I was happy. I was okay with that. Not too shabby. It was all right. But I moved on Steele this week. He's been underwhelming, underperforming for so long. Looked injured. I was sick of him by that stage. Only for him to then knock out a score of 140, which is, I think, about his past 3 weeks added up together.
Yeah.
Seriously, that's 140 is what he scored in my team for the entirety that I've had him for. It was his highest score of the season. It did mean I ended up losing out on 41 points, as I did bring in Mills. Frustrating, but I don't regret it because based on that stage, you couldn't hold Steele.
No.
Like, I needed to do something.
Like, it's a sample size of pretty much what, 16, 17 rounds, like 16 rounds of him just being not at full flight and injured, hampered, all that sort of stuff. And there was no indication that he was going to regain full fitness magically and start regaining, all of his superpowers. He was kind of like Superman, the Man of Steel, of course. But, he was tackling en masse as well, had 12 tackles and, 31 disposals, 6 marks. He looked really good. I watched the game from go to woe against the D's, and it looked like the old Steele of old that we always harp on about and love, with the high floor and high ceiling. Yeah. Shit. I felt for you, really.
Yeah, look, it is what it is. It is what it is.
It could be
I'd be wary of, exactly. And I'd be wary of people jumping on him. I'd be wary of him for those jumping on him, unless you're really bringing him in as an M9.
Yeah.
Just because, like, this came out of nowhere, really. It is what it is. We move forward. This week, though, we'll be sweating on Ridley's health. Though, as we said at the top of the show, it was just bone bruising, and not a more serious injury. So there is an outside chance that he does play this week. I think he'll get the week off. So I'll have to assess. I'll have him, probably Dunks as well on the bench. You'd expect. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, let's see what happens as the week unfolds. Maybe there'll be some trades made. Maybe there won't be.
Yes. How many trades do you have left? 2? Is it 3?
3. Got 3 left. So I could look to do something to get Sicilian with Ridley.
Yep.
But that would probably leave me with 1 trade. So
yeah, okay.
Yeah. Might be a move that I need to make, though. Just need to take the risk. I don't know. We'll see.
Yep.
We'll see.
Exactly. Well, it could pay off as well. I mean, Sicily, we'll get into him in a bit more detail shortly in the trade segment. But he's very much a pod, and he's a surefire way to sort of get the leg up over the rest of the competition, I think, from here on out. And if you can afford to take the risk, might be worth it. But I feel for yourself, obviously, Liam, but then other teams as well that have Sarong potentially to deal with. Ridley, if they're only owners of him, they would no doubt be owners also of Dunkley. So as we've always been saying, the lead up or sort of post buys, injuries and suspensions will hit. So we're kind of being tested of our bench depth more than ever at the moment. So always keep that in mind. But let's jump into just a recap quickly of our head-to-head overall. So I've gone out to 14 wins, and you're the 3, Liam, in our head-to-head of Ultimate Supremacy. Differential has gone from 646 to 726. But I must say again, Liam, it's I'm not going to hang my hat on it because, again, it's another week where you were hampered by injury. And when I heard that Ridley got injured, I thought, oh shit, what's he scored? And I was thinking back to, when he got concussed and went off for, what was it, sub 30 score or less than that.
Yeah, it was.
And I thought, oh, something like that. But 80, at least you eked out, I guess, a
80,
decent score. Yeah. Not too bad, but
I wasn't disappointed with 8.
Yeah. But again, if he misses this week,
that's the issue.
It's kind of like, it's virtually like 40 points or 80 points spread across 2 weeks, which is an average of 40. So looking at it from that perspective, it isn't the best outcome, but hopefully, at least he can play, and at least hopefully they can manage him if he does play this weekend. But Liam, let's jump into quickly. We spoke of it at the top of the episode about some additions of DPP changes. So speaking of that, let's jump into it. It is changes.
Changes.
Yes, we've had the last set of DPP changes this week, and there's been some important additions, I want to say. We'll only focus on the SuperCoach relevant ones because, I mean, there wasn't that many, but there's no point talking about Marlon Pickett. But I think this is just going to be mainly for owners. It's just going to give you some added flexibility as opposed to reasons to chase these guys. Because if you haven't got Nick Dacos, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
But anyway, the key changes are mid forwards. We've got Devon Robertson getting mid forward eligibility. And Damon, do you want to run through the defender mids?
Defender mids, we have Sam Doherty. So these are obviously the more notable ones, especially these first couple. Sam Doherty, so that's super handy. Likewise, Nick Dacos, again, if you have a swing in your midfield to defense, an easy way or surefire way to help out with covering
like a Constable.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you still got him.
Chesser. Still got him.
Yeah.
Angus Brayshaw is another one, and also Jack Sinclair. So at least 3 of those 4 there are quite decently owned, especially Dacos and Sinclair. So super handy there. And also, as you mentioned, Pickett has gained forward, midfield, and parole, I think, as well, tacked on, and soon to be prison DPP potentially. So we'll wait and see what happens there with him. Shall we do it? So we jump straight into the next segment. I love how you kept a straight face throughout that. You're like, yes, I'm not going to even going to touch that.
Not even going to engage.
Not going to engage. You could see it coming.
Let's jump into the Price is Right.
Show me the money. Oh! Does that make you feel good just to say that? What you gonna do, Derek? Show me the money!
For those tuning in for the first time, what are you doing? Go back. Start again. Listen to the rest of them. Silly. The Price is Right is the segment where we discuss potential trades and trade targets for you to target this week. And we'll chat about whether certain players should even be traded at all. Now, David, do you want to kick off with gone?
Yes. Now, normally we'd have this built out quite nicely, but I think at this point of the season now, there really isn't any players apart from those that have long-term injuries that we could list here, or suspensions and whatnot. But again, considering that a lot of us already have full primo teams or nearing it, it really comes down to those that are looking to, either punt cash cows or, use a maxed out cash cow as a stepping stone to a genuine primo, or using a trade for a luxury upgrade. So I think it's probably worthwhile just jumping straight onto the next category and bulking them all together in the chopping block. So again, these aren't players that you do need to get rid of. I think that probably just comes down to your strategy, where your team's looking, how it's shaped.
How many trades you've got.
Yeah, how many trades you've got, how much cash in the bank, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So let's kick it off with, on the chopping block here, with Seamus Mitchell. As a defender forward, he's priced at 386.8k, averaging a 70.9 with a break-even of 79. So he's coming off a score of 55, which has seen his break-even rise to a number beyond his average, meaning he could start dropping in price. However, he has been one of the more reliable rookies to date, with a 3-round average of 80, and with recent scores prior to the weekend reading rather favorably, with a 74, 82, 69, 74, 98, and 87. So given this strong scoring, we are both very strong advocates of keeping him as season-long bench cover if you can, as he ticks the box scoring-wise, if he needs to be called upon for cover, as has been the case with me with Dunkley. And he is a definite best 22 starter for the Hawks with his strong job security also. So a couple of big ticks there. And likewise, his DPP as a defender forward swing allows cover across both lines. If you have the DPP swing in the opposing line with, say, a Sheasel or, a basement price rookie, DeWar, whatever his name is, from West Coast, Himmelberg, as you mentioned as well. But I think if you're unable to use any other maxed out rookie as a bit of a springboard to a genuine keeper, and you need to use Seamus Mitchell as that avenue, I think only then is it worth trading him at the moment. But I think he's made over 262, actually, 262.9. So he's made a fair bulk of coins. So again, he's done his job if you're using him as, that stepping stone, as I said.
Yeah, I agree entirely. It really comes down to your structure. I'd be mindful of trading him out if it's going to leave you bare on the bench.
Mhm.
But equally, sometimes you just got to risk it. And, he's not scoring points if he's on the bench.
Yep.
Like he's obviously scoring points, but he's not, his points aren't getting to your score. So if he's, sometimes you do have to risk it. If you need to play a bit more aggressively, that's not the worst thing to do sometimes. Let's move on to Matty Johnson. He's mid-eligible, 328.7K, averaging 52.8 with a break-even of 84. And Justin Longmuir has done him over yet again. What has this poor bloke done?
Yeah.
He subbed him for the second time in the last 4 weeks. In fairness, we'll say the first one was due to a corky, but looking a bit suspect now, if you ask me. He ended up scoring 34 in just 56% game time. But with that being said, he has shown a bit of a knack for scoring well enough in limited game time. He scored a 99 from 74% time on ground and a 96 from 62% time on ground. So that's only, 6% more game time than what he got on the weekend. And he, almost tripled that score.
Yeah.
So he was going to have a big 6% of the time if he got that time on the ground.
Oh, he would have
like
jumped right
60 points. Anyway, whilst his CBAs did rise from 32% to 35%, it was a bit of a surprise. I would have thought he'd get more of an uptick, considering that Fife obviously was out with injury, and would have left some CBAs. Yeah, more of the pie. Yep. More of the chili pie to
more of the triple chili pie.
But he has shown again some solid scoring in recent weeks. He's managed very decent and dependable scoring with 96, 99 and 70s to suggest he can operate as a decent season-long bench cover if you do need him. If he is surplus to your requirements, though, as we discussed with Seamus Mitchell, I think you need to consider culling him. He's a maxed out cash cow and you can use him to springboard to a genuine primo. I think it's understandable then to trade in this circumstance, because when viewed as a pure cash cow, he has made 200K and is absolutely ripe for the picking. The only other thing that I will say, if Sarong misses this week, if you need cover, this could be a week. Obviously, if you've got Sarong and you've got Johnson, I'd probably hold him because you're going to need cover. But if you don't have Sarong, but you do have Johnson, it could even be a week just to keep him and try the loop if you might need it. Could be in for a big score because there should be a nice uptick in role for him, assuming that they don't challenge and get him off.
Yeah, it's a fair point, especially considering that Sarong actually has had pretty much the most CBAs of any of the Royal midfielders, maybe alongside Brayshaw. But over the course of the season, he's definitely had the most. He's at 82%, and the next best midfielder has been Brayshaw with 78%. So on the weekend, he had 91% CBAs. So obviously, if he misses the game, there's 91% CBAs that need to be split and shared amongst the pack. Brayshaw was 74% on the weekend. Normally averages around about 90%. So he'd get, another 16%. And that leaves roughly about 75% or thereabouts. Then to be shared amongst the rest. So Yago O'Meara had 43%. He'd get an uptick. James Aishi only played the midfield just to tag Walsh. Didn't really do a good job. But he might have a bit of a go on. I think they got Collingwood this weekend. He might get an uptick. But then it trickles down to Matty Johnson. So you're totally right there. And a very, very good observation because even though his break-even's 84, as he's shown, as you pointed out, he can still score quite well and from limited game time as well. But this could be the most CBAs that he gets all year and could be an uptick in scoring for sure. Very nice. So let's move on. And sorry, just before we do that, again, both of those guys, I think as well, whether or not you keep them or move them on, probably comes down to how many trades you have left. If you have like sub 2 trades like myself, you probably need to keep them. Just for cover, because, with the lack of trades up your sleeve, it means you're going to have to rely more on these guys off the bench for cover. But just keep that in mind. And be very interested to see checking back in sort of this time next week as to how Matty Johnson goes. But let's move on to Harry Sheasel as a defender forward. Priced at 459.1K, averaging a 94.1 with a break even of 119. And probably just stating this from the outset, but you shouldn't really be considering trading Shees unless you have, just off the back of what I was just talking about there, unless really you have the excess trades to accommodate this, I guess we'll call a luxury upgrade. His scoring output has definitely tapered in recent times, with a ton in just one of his past 6 games, which is a far cry, obviously, from the 7 tons he scored across his first 8 games of the season. And the variation in scoring actually aligns with the moment he was thrown into various roles, from a rebounding defender to then playing as wingman, then played up forward, and then having stints in the engine room, all of which occurred from the moment Brett Ratten took over as the caretaker coach from round 10 onwards.
Sack him.
As I alluded to earlier when talking about Ratten. But yeah, that's sort of the main correlation. Like, it's funny. It was like that. I think around 10, he actually scored quite well. But then from then on, that's when he sort of had his role mixed up. He was playing more in the mid, more across the wing, all that sort of stuff, and does not bode well for any continuity in your game. But this form could turn around once Clarko takes back the reins, but there really isn't any definitive timeline as to when this will happen. I think they said 2 weeks ago that in a fortnight's time, Clarko will sort of reintegrate back into the club and then start ramping up the amount of work that he's doing. But having said that, it probably indicates that he probably still will be more of a handover phase, I think, from Ratten to Clarko over maybe 1 or 2 weeks. So yeah, just wait and see there. But the real, I guess, upside to Shees is the fact that he has the handy defender forward DPP status, which no doubt comes in handy for coverage purposes. And also being owned by 67% of the competition means that his downturn in scoring will not really impact you as badly as if he was a pod. So given, obviously he affects a majority of the competition, given he's owned by 67%. So there isn't really any real dire need to trade him, keeping that in mind. I think a lot of people will see those scores in isolation and think, shit, he's impacting me really badly. But again, just keep it always, when it comes to these sort of bad scores with players, just check their ownership. If their ownership's quite high, they're probably not in a dire need to get rid of them ASAP. That's why we're sort of classifying him more as a luxury sideways trade or luxury upgrade in this case. However, upgrading him to, say, a very strong primo pod in, say, a Sicily will give you a big jump over the rest of the competition if you are looking for a bit of a leg up. So there is that strategic side of things as well. But again, comes down to how many trades you have up your sleeve in order to do that.
Agreed. Yeah, not much more to say other than what you put in there. It's interesting, though. It's funny that we're like wanting like a coach to come back. Normally we don't like coaches.
We want coaches to leave.
We want coaches to leave. But we specifically want a coach to come back to shore up Sheezel's spot, hopefully. But yeah, I agree. Totally luxury trade at this stage, unless you've got, I don't know, 10 trades left somehow.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't be doing it if you've got, probably less than 5. 5's probably the most I would do it with.
Yeah. Because I mean,
So
if you
the
do
least
trade
I
him
would
out
do
and he
with.
continues scoring pretty bad, it means you're in the 33% of coaches that won't be impacted by his poor scores. And if the trade-in player that you get scores better than Sheezel, that's already
it's benefiting you. It's a leg up, but
positive points.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
It is.
But yeah, I think it is. I think it really comes down to your trade situation. But let's move into, and sorry, before we finish that off, the other player that you could consider trading out, and I'm not going to go into in too much detail, is purely just Jordan Ridley. If you do have him,
Yep.
Could be risk. He's probably going to have to manage himself with bone bruising in game, so it could be a risk to his scoring. I don't know if he's going to miss this week. We don't know the answer to that. Again, I think that's another, like, it sits in the Sheezel category. It's a luxury trade at this stage because it looks as though I reckon if he doesn't play this week, he plays next week. So you're only trading him out for 1 week. As the season gets closer to the end, obviously 1 week is longer in the context of the rest of the season. So you're more likely to trade someone out for a 1 week injury. But yeah, just keep that in mind. But I don't think it's a definite trade out at this stage. So let's move on to the get them ins. The fun part, James Sicily returning. Defender, 649k, averaging 113.4 with a break even of 63. Do you remember Sicily? Do you remember him?
Yeah, I remember him.
It's like a fever dream having him in my side.
Yeah.
The Sicilian, he's back from suspension again.
Yeah, yet again.
So he got suspended for a week a month ago, like 2 months ago.
Hit him across the back of the head or whatever.
And he got suspended for 3 weeks. So now he's going for 6.
Can he stay in suspension free for the remaining 7 rounds?
I feel like we need in The Simpsons when they have days since last incident. I feel like we need days since last incident Sicily.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Anyway, many were forced to trade him out. I was one, which didn't matter. That's mean his ownership has been cut right down to 12% after it was actually pushing up toward 30. So he will be a relative pod given he is the highest averaging defender in the game. His low break even of 63 does mean that his price could go up even higher after this week with a matchup against North on the cards as well. And just, you know what, if you've forgotten this, how impactful he has been. He has a 3-round average of 147.3 and a 5-round average of 127.8. And his last 4 games prior to being suspended read as 134, 134, 172, and 136.
Jesus.
If you're in the market for a defender and have the trades to accommodate, Sicily should be at the absolute top of your shopping list.
That is incredible. That is incredible. That's like virtually with those 134, 136 scores. That is, at the moment anyway, the way that Sheasel's scoring, using him as an example, as we just spoke about him. That's like double the amount of score that Sheasel's punching out almost in some cases for those rounds.
To that point as well, he's not coming back from injury. He's just coming back from a suspension. Like if he was coming back from injury, you'd probably see the 63 probably wouldn't be in question, but you might see him go, 80, 90 and have a bit of a substandard score. But there's no reason he can't just come slot back in and score 130.
Especially against North first up.
Yeah. I don't know what the rest of their season looks like.
So they got North, then they got Richmond, St Kilda, who give away a shit ton of points to defenders.
Yeah.
In his 3rd game back. Collingwood, I don't know if they do.
Collingwood, no, not really. But they don't give away. It's kind of neither.
Yeah, no positive correlation. Then there's the Bulldogs, round 22.
Bulldogs, they give away a few points.
Yep. Then Melbourne, round 23.
Melbourne, they give away the 2nd most points. Yep.
Oh, Jesus. And then Freo to round it out, round 24.
Freo give away the 2nd least. But by that stage of the season...
It is, yeah. It's like done and dusted. Like you've either got him or you don't. Because I think as well, that's the other thing to keep in mind is that low break even, just going by SuperCoach Plus, for example, here, they've got him projected to score 132 against North on the weekend and a projected price rise of 31.1k, bringing his overall price to 680.
He's already basically unaffordable.
Yeah.
Like he's already too expensive for most people to get in. If he goes up to 680, 700, no one's going to get him.
And then his break even there kind of settles around about the 120 mark. And if he's scoring 130, 140 from then on, his price is going to go up in small increments, of a few $1,000s at a time, and potentially peak, going by SuperCoach Plus again at round 21 against the Pies at 698.8k. So it's just incredible. Like he could be as pricey as Bontempelli at the moment, or Dacos comparatively. So or Dunkley, I think he's probably one of the more expensive players in the game. Actually, no, Bontes, I think. Yeah, 686.9k at the moment. But yeah, and then sort of peaking and then facing St Kilda, who concede a shit ton of points to defenders, which again, just as a reminder, that's the team that he scored 172 points against in round 11. before he got suspended the first time. So crazy. Absolutely incredible.
I
go ahead.
I think we'll talk about it a bit more in the questions. I think there's a few questions about him.
Yep.
So let's leave it there. Let's
reserve it for that. Yeah. So let's move on to the next candidate to potentially get in, and it is Darcy Parish as a midfielder, priced at 582K, averaging 109.5 with a break even of 76. And he's only in a staggering 2% of teams, so presents as a definite pod, and one we know that can score quite well historically. But much of that low ownership is attributed to missing 6 weeks with injury. But if you are in need of a mid upgrade, he is someone to target, and as a pod could help catapult you up the ranks and help you win a crucial league head-to-head. Has averaged 116.3 across his first 3 games back since returning from injury, with a 131 and a 126 in his past 2 weeks alone. He has a mixed bag, though, for his remaining 7-week fixture. I know a lot of him has been made about Essendon's fixture. Liam, you know all about this. But I don't think it's actually...
It's not as easy as...
It's not as easy as what someone's saying.
There's only 2 gimme games. But anyway.
Yeah, which are North and West Coast, really. And in terms of favourable matchups, when we talk about correlation games, North, West Coast and Collingwood all concede points to opposition mids. So those are really the only 3 gimme games from a SuperCoach perspective. But again, from a head-to-head footballing perspective, those are really the only 2 gimme games, and the Pies, who knows, could go either way in a game between 2 arch rivals.
Yes. If I needed a midfielder, I'd be getting him in. We know the ceiling he can have. He and Merritt are working well together. The mix is working. He's actually getting, from what I understand, if this is just off the top of my head, he's getting less time on ground, which is actually benefiting him because he's being able to create more pressure acts, which are giving him more scores. Particularly on the weekend, I think he had a slight drop in his time on ground, but don't quote me.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Well, yeah, like his rate of scoring in every single game, bar round 3 against the Saints, he's actually scored over a point every minute. But he is averaging, just quick sums there, I reckon around about 1.2, 1.3, maybe, 1.2-ish, 1.3 across the course of the year in terms of points per minute, which is absolutely elite. And to do it so regularly is insane as well. So it shows that he doesn't really, and probably Merritt as well, he's up there every single game. He's veered around about that 1.2, 1.3 mark where he's gone bananas. So yeah, can score points with his eyes closed. So yeah, it's pretty handy, isn't it?
Yep. So one I'd definitely be considering. I think his last 2 weeks really have been what I think we can expect from him. Also, not that I want to, jinx him. We'll touch on this a bit later. The last game he played at GMHBA, he scored 199. It was a absolute shit night. It was wet. It was cold. It was miserable. I was there. And yeah, I think he scored 199 or 190 or something. So just saying, it's going to rain on Saturday.
Ooh.
He's playing at GMHBA Stadium.
Jeez.
I'm going to be there freezing my ass off. Ooh. So you know what? It's all repeating. History is literally repeating.
Yeah. Well, that's a very good point. 190.
Yeah.
190. He's going to absolutely pick it up.
And think about the fact that he scored this is a very different score, 131 though. Oh no, sorry, 126 last week, wasn't it? Against Port in the rain. It's going to be favorable conditions for him.
Yep.
But anyway, let's move on. Callum Mills. Let's move on to him. Mid-eligible, 427.1K, averaging 89 with a break-even of 39. He definitely passed the eye test the week prior when he had 76 CBAs. 76% CBAs, didn't have 76 CBAs. That would have been an absolute... He would have scored 2 million. And he did score 106 in his first full game back from injury, and that continued on the weekend when he was given 63% time on ground for a score of 99. He was swung back at one stage, drifting up to the wing in the third quarter, and then was put back in the engine room for the final term and continued dominating. He was on like 60, I think.
Yeah, he
like quite late, and then just absolutely piled it on.
He I think it was due to the fact that, I reckon across the entire weekend, Champion Data, I don't know what they were doing. It's like they went out for a couple of smokos and just forgot to update games, but there were so many like lag points that they didn't actually pay until like ages down the track late in the game. And it's like they did that with Callum Mills. Like, oh shit, was rushing back, bursting through the door and scuttling across the keyboard. Just punch in bloody.
Just had a pie in the oven.
Pie in the oven. Or maybe it was the bird, the drinking bird from The Simpsons that was just left tapping on the keyboard.
Adding 1 point at a time. 1 point at a time.
It's drinking the water. Going back for more.
He was interesting, wasn't he? He went up 23K on the weekend as well. So good time to get him.
Obviously, as well, just one thing to consider, Warner will be out for another week or two. So you can be assured that the time in the engine room across that period should be there. And whilst the CBAs may take a hit when he returns, it is something that should continue to remain for the rest of the year. You'd expect that he'd continue getting CBAs. I mean, he's an elite mid. Like, it's where his place is. It's where his home is.
It's where your home is. Just like, Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
Don't you want to go to your home? But definitely someone to consider. If you haven't got him already, he is a definite bargain. As I said, only went up by the 23K or thereabouts. And a great M8, which is what I've used him as in my own team. And I think you've done likewise.
Yeah, I have.
Very nice. Well, let's round it out with someone who's largely forgotten about and someone that we both had early season, Liam, and was looking like he could have been one of the biggest breakout contenders alongside Tom Green. And it is the UDL can himself, LDU, Luke Davies-Uniacke, and he's priced at 524.8K, averaging a 107.9 with a break even of 72. And he was another who has suffered from injury throughout the season, but bounced back nicely in his second game returning from injury with a score of 134 against worthy opposition in Geelong at GMHBA Alphabet Stadium, as you call it, Liam. At full fitness, we saw what type of ceiling score he's capable of back in the first two rounds of the season when he scored a 143 and 155 before injury struck and limited him across multiple games. Also, like Parrish, his ownership is super low at just 5%, so is a big pod. Is a risk knowing his poor durability, obviously, this season, but is someone at the cheaper scale of 500K, closer to that mark, that might be worth the punt if you don't have the cash to reach any higher on the shelf for the top shelf of primos in the midfield. So, again, he's someone that I'm looking at, probably looking at, potential 2024 selection. Again, I might dip my toe back in the water, but with limited trades as well, it is a risk because if he does get injured again with a similar, I think he had ankle injuries and whatnot. So, he's a pod. Could be high risk, high reward. Who knows, Liam?
I don't know. It's sorry. Like, I put him in the list and I like him as a pick. But his injury history is the big concern. Like, his injuries this season, like, he just seems to break down every couple of weeks.
And you might as well go for 100K cheaper in the form of Mills, who I think at his peak can at least maybe try and match LDU, maybe a little bit less. If you're comparing both at full fitness, but you might as well save 100K and go for Mills, I think, who, yes, granted, was injured. But at least for the time being has the role and doesn't really come with that risk. And I think, as we mentioned with Mills, he has that role sewn up potentially for the rest of the season, by and large.
I agree. Let's move on to the bubble. And there are no rookies currently on the bubble. But at this stage of the season, you're probably not really needing any. There are a couple upcoming. Cooper Harvey, his mid-forward, 117.3K. Woden.
Yep.
What his first name is.
Taj.
Taj, that's it. He's also coming up. I don't know, what is he, mid forward as well?
Yes, mid forward, 123.9K.
Yeah, mid forward, 123.9K. Again, like, if it's one of those hard things. I think if you're going between him and Harvey, I'd probably lean towards Harvey. Probably got better job security than Woden does, considering the two scales that their teams are at.
Yeah.
Opposite ends. And yeah, that's sort of the thing that I'd be considering there. But yeah, I think at this stage of the season, you're probably looking less to playing rookies and more to non-playing loophole options like a Dewar from the Eagles, or if you don't have a Nick Madden, someone like that, where you are just getting the absolute most amount of cash and getting some loophole options that play late in the round.
Yep. Yeah, spot on. That's probably the the name of the game at this stage, unless you are desperate for some sort of cover. But yeah, even then, if you have guys on opposite lines that you can kind of switch with DPP and whatnot, and then, as you say, maximize the most amount of coin by trading down to a loop option. That is definitely the go to maximize that coin. But Liam, now's the time to, well, for one of us anyway, to put on our captain's hat and unfurl the flag and sail into the distance as you frantically look for something. I don't know what.
I'm looking for a flag. There is no flag here.
No.
There is a hat, though.
And there is a captain I see here.
Aye, toot toot. I'm the captain now. Toot toot.
Look at me. I'm the captain now.
You are the captain now. Oh, we lost you for a second then. You in the black screen. I don't know what happened there.
Oh, no. I'm still looking for a flag.
You're being hijacked by other pirates. Have to get a pirates. We'll have to get a pirates flag. You are a nice captain. You are. I'm waiting, as we mentioned last week, for you to roll into my driveway because your boat or yacht is on wheels.
Have you seen? I don't know. This is very niche. Community. Like, if you haven't watched it, get on it, everyone. But there's literally an episode where they basically do college. It's basically about college, and they do really weird subjects to get credit. And one of them is like captaining a ship, and they literally have like a yacht in the car park on wheels. And that is, whenever you say like, I'm going to roll in, I'm like, that's what I imagine, is that I'm just on that show. Anyway, you just need to get on it. It is absolutely hilarious. First 3 seasons are good.
Oh, okay, very good. We'll get on it. And now every time
it's
I
on
say
Netflix.
Well, that's your incentive. If you got Netflix, check it out.
Yeah, there you go. Just
check it out.
Getting a lot of information on this episode. Our thoughts on Elon Musk.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's very
Netflix
very
recommendations.
One-stop shop and not just SuperCoach chat. All that sort of stuff. Yeah, just
back to the Rafters reviews.
Jesus. Well, it does show that we're kind of veering into that part of the season, isn't it, where we've got less and less to talk about. Still informative, no doubt, but we're trying to provide a little bit extra lifestyle, pop culture, all that sort of stuff. So there we go. Very nice.
Anyway, this is I'm the captain now, and we're going to chat about VC and C options for you. So let's kick off with the vice captaincy options and Sydney. Thursday night, Sydney versus Western Bulldogs at the SCG 7:20, and we're going to go with my boy Errol Goulden. He has an average of 69 in his last 3 games against the Dogs for scores of 81, 73, and 53. He's averaging 110 for the season. Remember when people traded him out? Fools.
Fools.
He has a 3-round average of 143.7. And his last 3 scores would all have been captaincy worthy: 164, 124, and 143. 2 of those games, 164, 124, happened at the SCG.
Wowzers. Yeah, and he actually scored quite well. Was the Thursday game last week they played?
They played on the weekend,
I should say.
Thursday the last game that he played was Thursday night, yes.
Yeah. So he loves the early games as well.
Yeah.
Tempting, very, very tempting. Much like this next guy, who also has a very, very nice average historically against the Swans, but also a recent form line, and it is the English breakfast himself, Tim English. He's got an average of 130 in his last 4 games against the Swans, with scores of 152, 97, 126, and a 145. And recent form line, he's got a 3-round average of 130 and a 5-round average, just extending that out to 129. And his recent games, he's past. We'll go through the past 5 games. He's had a 156, a 99, but that was kind of the floor game by his standards. Then a 133, a 127, and a 130. So he is well and truly in form against Tom Hickey, you'd imagine. Should have a day out around the ground as well. More of a new age ruckman v the old traditional lumbering ruck in Hickey. I reckon he is a big, big chance of going large yet again. So I like him.
I agree. Let's move on to the next guy, Marcus Bontempelli, highest priced player in the league at the minute. He has an average of 122.25 in his last 4 games against the Swans, with scores of 108, 101, 114, and 166. Now, let's have a look at his recent scores. Yeah. 125, 169, 114, and 123. Kind of bit of a mixed bag there, all above 100. You have to go right back, actually, to round 3, the only game this season where he didn't score 100. So he's in some good form. I feel like whenever we've got the VC on him, he scores like 123.
Oh, yeah.
Or 121.
Always around about that mark.
And it's like, do you take it? Do you not take it? What do you do? And of course, you've got to take it if it's 120.
Yeah.
But it's just so frustrating. It's just like 130 would be nice. 126 would be nice. And you're not going to say no to 126. You might say no to 124. You might think, oh, what do I do with 124? But 126, that is locked in.
Yeah, exactly. You lock it in. You just got to lock it in. And that kind of lends me to, I mentioned it in just the strategy side of things in my team talk episode. But now I'm kind of, and I don't know if you're the same, Liam, but putting the VC on my most favorable captaincy choice. And then if he fails, going for someone else, just because, for example, on the weekend, did that with Neil. If Neil ended up putting in a shit one, a lot of people put the VC on someone early in the round. Then they put their C on Neil and were locked into whatever Neil scored. At one stage, he looked like he was going to score around about 115 and then came home with a wet sail. But if he scored 115, it would have meant that it's a nice way to sort of get a leg up on the rest of the competition. Yeah. Sort of a bit of an anti-correlation, anti-pod, I guess, anti-captain pod, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, Bont is going back to him. He's a very, very nice chance, and yeah, I think he's due. Surely he's a stewie. Yeah. But let's move on to the next game, and it is between Melbourne up against Brisbane on Friday at 7:50 p.m. at the MCG. And first up, we have the track. Christian Petrarca has got an average of 110.5 in his last 4 games against the Lions, with scores of 97, 97, 117, and 130. Although having run through all those scores, I must admit, he is someone that I'll be looking past just because of the fact that he played a majority time up forward on the weekend, just in the absence of Bailey Fritsch. And Goodwin has come out and said that he will play more time up forward until Fritsch returns. I know he actually scored quite well. It was quite funny. Bit of we mentioned with Petrarca last week that he ended up scoring 4 behinds straight, didn't convert any of those, and then on the weekend he ended up converting every single one, 4 goals. So he's gone from 0% goal accuracy to 100%. So classic. But yeah, scored 120 on the weekend. Still has an impact up forward, but again, with stints in the midfield, but again, I probably would look elsewhere.
Yeah. I mean, you got to consider that he kicked 4 goals and scored 120 on the weekend. Yeah.
Probably hard done by, I reckon, because they were very crucial goals.
A little bit rough.
Given the game was still in the balance within a couple of goals, 2 to 3 goals. So again, champion data, where were you? Stop having a tea break, a smoko, check in the oven, and and stop allowing the drinking bird apparatus to do your job. Although they'll probably do a better job.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the next player on the other side of the field. It is Lockie Neal. He has an average of 99.75 in his 4 games against the D's, with scores of 100, 111, 104, and 84. Bit of a poor matchup there.
Yeah. I mean, he's past couple of games. What's he done?
Yeah,
142,
exactly.
143. He's due for a downer, I think, more than anything.
Yeah.
Is this the game where, or does it continue? Who knows?
Could be a nice one to put the VC on, take the risk.
Yep.
Because I think people will be scared away by that historical form.
If they looked, I reckon there'd be some people that would have the recency bias and be like, oh, we'll just back him in.
Yeah.
And then, there'd be those people that look a little bit closer, because he has actually scored in his past 4. He scored a 144, then a 114, then a 143 and a 142. So he scored 140 plus in 3 of his last 4. So interesting.
Tough one. Let's move on to next game, Saturday, 1:45 p.m. It is Collingwood up against Freo at the MCG. And who else could we have but Nick Dacos here? He's only played the Dockers once for a score of 65, but let's throw that out. Who cares?
Yeah.
That was last year.
Exactly.
Let's look at his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. His last 6 games,
Yep. Let's do
only
that.
one was below 122. He had scores of 124, 123, 118 against Melbourne, 132, 149, and 139.
All
Rich vein of form.
crazy lock-in captaincy scores.
Yeah.
And just looking at matchups, I know, like I mentioned earlier, that James Aish may try and run with him. He's not going to do a job. I'm sorry. If he couldn't quell Sammy Walsh, he's not going to quell Nick Dacos. No chance. He has been actually good across the journey with some players. I think he actually did a good job on Oliver historically. Aish, harping back to last year, as a couple of games there blanketed him, but he's a different beast, as we know. Nicky Dacos. So yeah, I like him, Liam. You like him?
Yeah, I like him as well.
Yep, very nice. Well, let's move on to the other side of the field, and it is Andy Brayshaw. He's got an average of 96 in his last 4 games against the Pies, with scores of 94, 110, 106, and a 74. So yeah, probably less so. I think everyone pales in comparison in this game compared to Dacos, really.
I'm going to throw in a bit of a left field option here, and it's Luke Ryan. He has an average of 104 in his last 4 games against the Pies, with scores of 102, 88, 131, and 95. But we really need to look at his recent form, which I'm getting up as we speak. He has scores of 143 in round 15, 97 against the Bulldogs, which poor score, but did sort of start playing a bit more as a lockdown, and 168 against your mob on the weekend. And obviously it didn't work out, didn't assist them. Who do they play? Collingwood. I mean, their season's pretty much over, I'd say now, Freo.
Yeah.
Like, looking at their run home.
It does make me wonder. Yeah, okay. It does make me wonder with Ryan, like we've spoken about him being switched between an unaccountable role, intercept defender, and then more of a lockdown defender, which we saw in the week prior against the Bulldogs. But I wonder now what the game plan is going to be for Justin Longmuir. Like, what does he do? Like, as you say, is the season shot? Are they still within a chance? I don't know if they are. They might be. So I don't know.
They are sitting in 14th spot on 28 wins. So they are essentially 2 games out of 2 games. No, 3 games.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't help as well that Carlton and Richmond both have the draw, so they get the extra 2 points on them. So they need to get an extra win.
Yeah, and Geelong as well with their 34. I think it's probably season over for them.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, looking at their run home, they played Collingwood. You'd expect a loss at the MCG. Sydney at Optus could be a win. Geelong at GMHBA, 50-50 you could argue. Brisbane at Optus, West Coast at Optus, Port Adelaide at Optus, and then Hawthorn at the MCG. So I think they've got to, like, realistically, they've got to make 3 wins while others lose. So their fate's really not in their hands. So to that point, I agree with you. What does that mean to Luke Ryan?
Yeah,
and Justin Longmuir.
Do they change things up? That's the thing. Like, I'm surprised they actually didn't use him more as a lockdown defender anyway, with the 2-prong attack with Charlie Curnow and Harry Mackay. It didn't really make any sense to me. Sure, he got like intercepts and whatnot, but largely it was just playing as a loose man, a lot of switch play, all that sort of stuff. And just junk time stats, that sort of stuff. So I guess probably matchup dependent, like the Pies. Who do they have as like Mychek? I don't know if he comes back this week. Who have they got? Frampton, Mason Cox.
Yeah.
Maybe he continues playing his Seagull type defender role. But yeah, who knows? It's dependent. I think matchup dependent, and see if they change things after the weekend. We'll wait and see with that. But let's move on to the next game. Gold Coast up against St Kilda on Saturday at 2:10 p.m. at HBS Stadium. Jack Sinclair, he's got an average of 89.75 in his last 4 games against the Suns, with scores of 113, 113, a 70, and a 63. Scored a bit of a downer on the weekend by his standards anyway, by recent form line, 96. But prior to that, he has scored 125, 102, 133, and a 116. So who knows? Might be a bit of a pod option more than anything.
Yeah, agreed. Let's move on to the next game, and it is Carlton up at your mob. Carlton up against Port Adelaide on Saturday at 4:35 at Marvel Stadium. And just before I get into this, Carlton, Vossi, I'm telling you now, I've gone deep down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, you have.
Their season is this. This is like Essendon's 2022 season. It's all the same.
Mirrored.
It's mirrored. It's exact. He literally said, "We simplified the game plan." That is what Rutten said. They started winning anyway. I'm not going to go down that hole again. I feel like that guy with like the red like string being like, look at my board,
conspiracy.
like I look crazy.
But it's true. We spoke about it like weeks ago when I was so frustrated. I'd hit my bottom virtually as a Carlton supporter. I was like, I'm so sick of this. I want him gone. Like, he is the most stubborn prick of all time. Like, the fact that it's taken him 16 rounds to adjust his game plan and our season's virtually over. Like, we don't deserve to be in it at the moment. Even though, yes, we've performed quite well, but off the back of all these changes he's made, is like, all of us supporters, we're not coaches, we're not tacticians, but we could see what the issues were: slow play, hugging the wings, not going through the middle, kicking inside 50, hugging the pockets, where again, the conversion rate was super low. Hence the reason why we're kicking more behinds than goals. And magically he's seen the light all of a sudden because his job's on the line. Like, how selfish can you be? So again, whilst I'm happy with the turnaround in form, I think we're the sort of side where it doesn't take the biggest rocket scientist to come in and be like, all right, let's just identify, the strengths of the team and play to those strengths. And simplifying it and actually changing those things that I've identified just there has helped. But yes, again, it's been against lowly opposition as well, which a lot of people are forgetting. And it's going to come unstuck, I reckon, this weekend against Port. Hopefully not. Hopefully the damage is minimized. But you've got to have perspective there. And I agree with you, Liam. I think it's
exactly the same.
It's going to go down the same path.
Weirdly similar.
Yeah.
Essendon had the exact, like, we had the 2021 season where we went, we probably overperformed. 2022, we had better expectations. Not that I'm saying that, like, we had a good season in 2021, had a start 2022. Like, I remember looking at the team being like, what the hell? Like, what is the strategy here? Then it was all of a sudden, we've simplified the game plan. They started winning, and it was like that sugar hit.
Yeah.
That doesn't last. But anyway.
Yep.
Just wanted to get that off my chest.
Yeah. Let us know as well. Like, from here on out, if you want us to minimize the amount of footy chat, we will happily do so. But I think it's always good as well just to sort of fill in the because a lot of this stuff is topical. Does tie in as well with some of the stuff we talk about, SuperCoach related wise anyway. So if you want us to ramp it up, we're happy to do so in lieu of I guess less to chat about on a SuperCoach side of things as well.
And I think as well, we'll try and do it. Like I think the Luke Ryan, Justin Longmuir kind of chat is more topical. That one was me just having a rant.
Yeah, and sorry, and you put the fishing line out there for me with no bait needed, and I chomped it down. As people can see on the live streams for the Tuesday, for the Thursday team sheet announcement live streams that we do. And when Paddy isn't, when he's omitted, when he's not selected, I go down a rabbit hole. So people, I think, lap that up. They just like seeing me.
They like seeing you annoyed. Anyway, let's jump in. Carlton up against Port Adelaide. Sammy Walsh. He's got a very favourable average against the Power, 125.5, with scores of 128, 144, 115, and 115 in his last 4, and returned to form on the weekend with a 119.
He did. And I reckon that's probably the best game I've seen him play all season as a Carlton man, but also I'm extra invested as an owner as well.
Yeah.
Played a bulk of time in the midfield. And of course that actually went against the amount of time that he needed up forward to be DPP eligible. So Vossi, he's done it again. Absolutely did it again. Had the Vossi. But yeah, he's at full flight, I reckon, again. Now he's back to tackling. As I said, James Aish tried to shut him down at one stage, the second half. Just couldn't do it. Ran all day and just quality possessions. He's back to full flight. He's not wasting possessions like he was early in the season when the team was performing like shit. So looks as though he's got his confidence back and at full flight. So I don't mind that pod VC selection.
Yes.
Let's round it out with a couple here. But first up, we have Rosie. He's got an average of 68.65 in his last 4 games against the Blues with scores of 91, 54, 96, and 34. Ended up scoring a 95 in the weekend. Bit of a mixed bag for him across the course of the season. Prior to that, though, against your mob, he scored a 141. So he can flash that ceiling score there. So if you want to take a little bit of a gamble, something a bit different to the pack, he is one to look at.
Yes, and rounding this game out, we've got Zach Butters. He's got an average of 106 in his last 4 against the Blues, with scores of 130, 96, 110, and 88.
Yep, don't mind it. Hasn't been the best sort of form line in recent times, but again, could be a pod
VC.
option.
I don't mind a pod VC. Like, I kind of like that. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, let's delve into we'll classify these as captaincy options because they do veer into the later side of the round. And it kicks off with Geelong up against Essendon on Saturday at 7:25 p.m. at Alphabet Stadium, which is GMHBA. First up, we have Tom Stewart. He's got an average of 114 in his last 4 games against the Dons with scores of 123, 103, 107, and a 122. And looking at the matchup side of things, Liam, exploitation side of things, and Essendon give up the 3rd most points to defenders. So I'd be looking at him potentially as a nice, I reckon I like him as a bit of a VC option. Could be a C option late if you are lacking for options, but there are quite a few this round, but nonetheless, I don't mind that from a matchup side of things. On the weekend, he had a decent matchup again against North Melbourne, who do give away quite a few points to defenders likewise, and he scored a 124. So I think he'll probably score around about that once you align both of those factors there.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on to my mob. Zach Merritt has an average of 108.25 in his last 4 against the Cats with scores of 91, 113, 107, and 122. But again, I want to look at his, I'm going to say recent history. I'm going to go right back to round 10. These are his scores: 162, 110, 137, 105, 126, 168, and 136.
Wow.
Not a bad run. Not bad
at all.
And some very nice captaincy scores in there. Could be in for another big one. Like his last 3 rounds, all have been captaincy worthy. And against some good opposition, 168 against the Power. Again, wet night, close game. Just telling you now. It's going to be like bone dry after I've said this. There's been no rain for the next week.
You could, when you're down there, you can give us a bit of a weather report, just what's the precipitation in the air, wind, all that sort of stuff.
Yep. And if there's no rain, I'm just going to call in a favor with, one of those big fire, the helicopters or planes to put out the fires, and just be like, bring it in.
Just unload all this water onto the players. Just absolutely floor them.
Yeah.
I'm like, where did all this rain come from? It's big, quite dangerous. But yes, that is an option for sure. But
I was
someone
going to
else
do a pre-match, but okay, I guess I can do it during the game.
like, oh my God, sorry, Liam, the helicopter's running late. Has the game started yet? Yes, in fact, we're into the second quarter. Drop the water.
Do it.
Initiate Watergate. Initiate the Watergate water. So let's move on to Darcy Parachute. Again, as you mentioned earlier in the episode, relishes these conditions if it is wet. But nonetheless, even if it's bone dry, he racks it up. Has an average of 108.25 in his last 4 games against the Cats, and he has scores of 108, 99, 190, and a 79. So, Liam, that 190 was, again, as you mentioned, at GMHBA Stadium in similar conditions, potentially. Could it be history repeating?
I remember that night so well. Finished work. It was a Friday night. I finished work, drove down to Geelong. It was cold. It was wet. I had the VC on Parish, and it was beautiful. We lost. We also lost. So, like,
But that's fine. It's weighed up
when you've got a
nicely.
VC on a player that scores 190, you're just, who cares? Who cares?
You're top of the world. Heads in the clouds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let's move on to the next game. Adelaide up against GWS, Saturday, 7:40 at Adelaide Oval. We've got Rory Laird here. He has an average of 90.75 in his last 4 games against the Giants, with scores of 50, 116, 75, and 122.
Yep. Not bad. Not bad. The other guy to take note of in this game is Jordan Dawson. He's got an average of 92.25 in his last 4 games, with scores of 97, 94, 86, and a 94. But it's more so his recent form line that has caught the eye. He's been up and down, largely so, but and his past 2 of his past 3 scored a 149 and a 127. So yeah, he's kind of starting to recapture that early season form ever so slowly. So one to look at potentially.
Yep. And in the second last game of the round, North Melbourne up against Hawthorn Sunday at 1:10 at Marvel Stadium. Just got one guy here, and it is James Sicily, the Sicilian. He has an average of 107 in his last 4 games against the Roos, with scores of 112, 105, 97, and 114. And we have spoken about his 3 and 5 round averages. So we don't need to say anything else.
No, he's a big option. Let's round it up with the last game. West Coast up against Richmond on Sunday at 4:40 p.m. at Optus Stadium. Timmy Taranto, he's got an average of 89.75 in his last 4 against the Eagles, with scores of 118, 102, 61, and a 78. He's had a bit of a dip in form in his past 2 games with a 72 and 84. Copped a little bit of attention. But prior to that, he had scores of 118, 147, 111, 136, and 128. But again, it's probably the disposal efficiency again, which is seeing him come unstuck. And again, as I always say, he's more of a AFL fantasy option as opposed to SuperCoach, which I'll probably stick by again. But again, up against West Coast, they concede a fair few points to opposition mids. In fact, they concede the most by far and away. Positive +10 correlation to opposition midfielders. So again, who knows if you're lacking for options, if you want a bit of a pod, because a lot of people will probably lock in VC and captaincy scores in the games prior to that. So yeah, he's an option.
Yes. Now let's jump into our captaincy head-to-head. And I locked in Neil, and Damon, you went for Dacos. Now, I'm pretty sure we both had other options that we were considering this round.
Yes.
And I think was it Bont for you?
I was going between in that same game, Bont and Dacos, and I was like, stuff it, I'll go for Dakes. I think you backed me in as well, and said, yeah, go for Dakes. And as it turned out, because I would have gone for Neil, I couldn't choose Neil, of course, because I went for him the week prior up against West Coast. Who did they play? I can't remember who they played. But I went for Neil that week prior. So I wasn't able to get him in, unfortunately. So
yes.
Yeah. Richmond they played.
Yeah, I was going for Merritt. So interestingly, had I gone for merit and you gone for Dacos, I would have lost by 3 points.
Yes.
So 6-point turnaround. Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy. So yeah, help me get the win, Neil. Thank you very much, The Hobbit. 3 points. Pegged it back. Pegged it back very, very slightly.
He's a good hobbits.
Thank you. Thank you, Gollum.
Yeah, Liam.
He's
you
in the
get
green room.
He is in the
just-
green room.
We just wheel him out when we need it.
Yeah. He's marveling
How's
over
Frank
some
go?
ring. He's marveling over a SuperCoach ring.
Ooh.
It's over there, actually. I'll grab it in a moment. But whilst I go and grab that ring, Liam, and I'll display it, I'll rip it out of the hands of Gollum. You get first crack this week at the captaincy, and pre-episode, I was boasting like an idiot. I was like, I've got the first choice this week, and I already need to know who I'm going to go for. And then you gave me this puzzle look, and I was like, wait a second, maybe I don't have the first pick. Do you have the first pick? And we're like, yes, you do have the first pick. So I've shown my hand. So if you want to go for this guy, I reckon do it, because I'm actually in my SuperCoach team itself. I'm going to put this guy as my VC regardless. So it's up to you. There's actually quite a few decent options this round. Probably not as much as last round, but there's a few. So Liam, who are you going to go for?
I just want to go all out. And so just for reference, Damon's referring to Tim English.
Yep.
Who I am tempted by, because Sydney do give away like the second most points or third most points to Ruckman as well. But no, you wanted him, Damon. I'm going to give him to you.
No,
No.
Because this is like the battle.
But
for
this was
ultimate
also
supremacy.
like this one's not the battle for ultimate supremacy.
This
That's
is the
other
secondary.
one.
What's the peg below ultimate supremacy?
I don't know.
Runner up.
Runner-up supremacy.
Arm wrestle.
Yeah. So I was gonna go for Parish. I just have this feeling like the stars are aligning.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Is it a full moon as well? Haven't seen the.
No, I should check that.
Yeah, should check that. Yeah.
I don't know. I just have a feeling it's gone well. I'm kind of at the point of the season where I just want to throw some. I like VC captains and pods at this stage, because it's really the only way that you're going to really get a leg up when you've got no trades, when you're not making trades to increase your team. So I think throwing a VC pod out there, or pod C out there, is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to go with Darcy Parish, lock him in.
Oh, I like it. Okay. Well, and I've just had a quick look for you as well in terms of the full moon. No, it's not. It's actually going past a third quarter moon. So it's about a half moon at the moment. So yeah, just for reference, if you need to know that. Next thing you know, next year we'll be looking at captaincy options based upon the weather,
signs.
the star signs, the full moon, red moon, all that sort of stuff. But yep, okay, Liam, you've done a nice thing for me. But how funny is it if English goes like a 160 and then Parish hits his 190 again? We'll harp back to this moment.
I may also be forecasting forward.
Oh, you've done this again. You've done it again.
No, I actually haven't, because English plays Essendon and Essendon doesn't give away many points to Ruckman. But we don't know who's going to ruck, because we've got bloody no Ruckman left.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, my other option was Dacos, who obviously can't go because I went for him on the weekend. So he's my backup option I would have gone for if I couldn't go for English. If you went for him, I would have gone for Dacos. Couldn't go for him. So then who knows who I would have gone for? Maybe Parish. Maybe I would have gone Parish as a bit of just to take your man. But here's the Hobbits ring.
Oh,
that's a SuperCoach Championship ring. Hobbits ring.
That was a little bit more Schmeagol than
it was a bit more Schmeagol. I can't fit it on my knuckle.
Are you gonna take that out, Damon, this year?
Who knows? Well, of course, this is going to be gifted to the winner of our league.
Yes.
So yeah, we'll see what happens. But anyway, Gollum is. I'll give it back to you, Gollum. There you go, mate.
Off you guys.
Thank you. Sounding less and less like Gollum, surprisingly. Yes, off he goes. But anyway, so rounding us out in terms of course, you got the leg up over me on the weekend, and that takes you to 9 wins. 7 wins to you and 9 wins to me. And the total, you've pegged it back by
3 points.
What was it? 3 points. You. So you're well within striking distance of ultimate supremacy, whatever you want to call it, for captaincy head to head.
For medium supremacy.
Medium supremacy, yeah. We'll go with that. Medium rare. But anyway, Liam, let's round out the episode by delving in to that segment where a lot of people send in questions and we answer them.
And people send in their versions of this.
Oh, of course, I forgot. And how could I forget? So let's throw to the first submission. And of course, if you want to send in your very own rendition of "I Gots to Know" or "I Gots to Know" or "I Gots to Know,"
however you want to do it.
Whatever way you want to do it. Yeah. Something different.
Yeah, however you want to do it.
Yeah. So
straight faced.
Yep.
Excited.
Side mouth. All that sort of. Yeah, anyway, if you want to do that, send it in. So this is the first submission that has been sent in by Darren Harris. So take it away, Darren.
SuperCoach Edge. I gots to know.
Well, there we go. That is a very, very nice.
I love this.
First up,
this is the
I got to know. So it's sort of giving the fans, the listeners, the viewers of SuperCoach Edge a voice.
Yes.
So thank you for that, Daz, the Dazzler, we'll call him. A regular listener and one of my fellow competitors in one of my cash leagues, the Hot Shots, and another league as well that he actually runs. So thank you so much for that, Darren. And it is, of course, I got to know. So in I got to know, we throw it open to you, the good folk of the SuperCoach Edge community, where we answer your burning questions. So Liam, do you want to take it away?
Yes, let's kick off with the first question. It's a good place to start. And it is from regular question asker, the Duke at
the Duke.
The Duke on Twitter, because he doesn't have an E in his.
There's no E.
In his, it's
name
just
must have been taken.
The Duke.
His E was just broken on the keyboard.
But his E works at the end.
Oh, that's very true.
Come on, Damon. Come on.
Sticky keys.
He asks, is it worth going from He asks, is it worth going from 3 injury trades to 1 to get Sheasel to Sicily? Also, Banks or Harvey? I'm going to answer the second part of that question.
Okay.
I think for mine, I'd probably go Harvey over Banks.
Yep.
I think Harvey's got good job security. I don't know if it's good, but it's got better job security. I just think in the team that he's in, like, you probably aren't going to drop him. I feel like the 3 North supporters will drop the fence and take out Ratton. I'm probably more on the fence there. In terms of Sheasel to Sicily, if it's tending you from 3 trades to 1, I don't know personally. Like, yes, it's a risky move. It depends on, I think, where you're ranked.
Cover.
Yeah, the cover you've got across your other lines. What you're playing for.
Yeah.
What your team looks like.
Yeah, I think playing devil's advocate, if he does have cover across most of his lines, especially in defense, just because surely it's not going to happen again. Lightning striking 3 times with Sicily getting suspended again.
We've just done it.
But just imagine, like, you gotta think of like the worst case scenario in the back end of the year. Like, as we know, like, injuries hit, suspensions can just as frequently with these sling tackles and whatnot. Just ask that man that you're looking to bring in Sicily. So yeah, if you've got cover, I'm all for it. If you don't, and you may potentially need to use one of those trades as an injury trade, I'm 50-50. But I think, yeah, as we mentioned earlier in the episode, a Sheasel to Sicily, in terms of the amount of points you could gain, and just looking at his rank, I think he was ranked he's ranked inside the top 200 last round. I don't know how he is coming out of the round, but he's still kind of in the mix. So considering where he's at, I don't mind that risk in itself, because it is high reward. And there wouldn't be many owners of Sicily in the top 150 where he's kind of pushing. So in that context, I don't mind it.
Yeah, I agree. I think in that context, it makes sense.
Yep. Very nice. Well, all the best with that. Duke, let us know how you go and what you end up doing. Empire, of course, one of the regular listeners, one of our longtime supporters, Emper at Emper_X. He asks us, who have you locked away for your 2024 sides this year? This year? What about next year? Not locking away 2024 sides yet. He says, for me, Dacos, Bont, English, Butters are my first picked in each line. We don't mind them, but Liam, you made a very nice observation there, which kind of led into a bit of a further discussion point with Butters.
Yeah, I mean, just a question. Does Butters, I don't know the answer to this in any way. Does Butters get forward status still? Like, I don't know what his percentages are, but that would be interesting to see because he might miss out.
You would think that he's kind of on the lower end of the scale, comparing 2022, which of course is when he got the mid-forward eligibility heading into this year. So this year his CBA average is 57%. Last year, his average was 38% CBAs.
Yeah.
So you'd probably think,
based off that, you'd say he's probably not going to get forward eligibility.
Yeah. Which is going to make it hard. And we kind of branched off into a bit of a tangent discussion, which we might sort of bring up towards the latter end of the season, where we try and pick our best, 22, all those guys we're going to target heading into next year. So it's probably a little bit too early at this stage, where we can digest, the split across the field, CBAs, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, just briefly, just going through the top candidates this year, Josh Dunkley. You'd think he's going to lose his forward status. He
won't get forward status.
Errol Goulden. He
probably doesn't.
Likely.
Yeah.
Timmy Taranto. He's pretty much been played full-time mid.
Yep.
Rosie played full-time mid.
Yeah, really.
Compared to last year, he will probably lose forward status. And Cogs.
Cogs is probably the best of the lot.
Best of the lot who could maybe
retain
it.
The most likely to retain is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So we're losing potentially 4 of the best top 6 forward options this year.
In fairness, I will say, having looked at, I did a bit of analysis on this, the start of the year. That's not unusual.
It's true.
Forwards are very hard to predict because they move out of that line, most likely because pretty much it's always a forward mid who's the best scoring forwards. And then they lose their forward status because they're scoring because they're mids. I think, again, not knowing, I don't want to answer that question. I can't answer the forward question until we actually see who's the forward.
Yeah, but something to forecast is a bit of a nice discussion point anyway. But maybe you could replace him with maybe a Keys, who again is getting more forward time, which means that could be a bit of a blessing in disguise. Could retain forward mid status next year potentially. But yeah, we'll delve into that discussion point in a bit more detail later in the season, the back end, when we kind of recap things and look forward. Liam, the next question has been sent in by TK, another regular listener, viewer.
Yes. And TK at TK_Mac_22, he asks, who do you think is the number one pod to move you up the ranks from here outside Sicily? So we can't pick Sicily here.
I think for me, I'm going to go, well, you'd probably just have to have a look at the players, rank them by ownership, by total points, or maybe average. Average is probably better at this stage of the year, obviously, because it's how they score on the run home. And then just look across at their ownership. So Sicily is at 11.7% at the moment. Chera is at 3.4%.
Chera's a good one.
He's probably a good one.
He hasn't really got... The only issue I think for Chera is he doesn't necessarily have the ceiling.
Yeah. He's to his credit.
He's got some decent scores.
129, 132, 127, 130.
Actually, it's not as bad as I think.
In recent times, he's actually picked up his ceiling scores, and more so his floor, I think, more than anything, probably what you're referring to there. But yeah, Chera maybe. Parrish, 2.3%.
Parrish is another big one that I think could go big from time to time. Sean Darcy.
Yep.
A 5.4. I mean, it's just hard at this stage of the season. Like pods, I actually don't think there's many pods that are going to power you up the ranks at this stage.
Yeah, because you're pretty much you're comparing them outscoring the more higher owned options in that same line.
I sometimes like to look at the 3-round average because I kind of think you want to see who's in form.
Yep.
But really, based off that, the only other player we can probably add in there is Dan Houston, but he scored 85 on the weekend.
Yeah, which is kind of what we referred to in last week's episode, like that. He has that knack for losing those or having a lower floor compared to, say, like a Doherty.
Yeah.
But yeah, even then.
And then the only other one that really appears here is McCluggage, and he's really just on the basis that Dunks isn't in the team.
Opportunity, yeah.
Yeah. So, tough one.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, very much so. But yeah, I think Sicily is probably the only one I'd be going for on a pod basis. Yeah, LDU we spoke of.
Another potential.
Yep. Maybe a Petrarca. I think his ownership might have gone up there now.
Yeah, he's 26.8.
Yeah, wow. Okay. Shit, he's owned more than what I thought he would be. Probably off the back of Oliver. I think a lot of people would have done the jump across to him.
Nick Martin. I'm telling you now.
Okay, Nick Martin.
127 on the weekend. He did have a downer last week also. So maybe not.
But prior to that, like that's really the only down score. Aside from that, he scored a 120, 129, 139, 124. And then the 127 with the 79 in between.
Another option for you forward.
Yep. Very good. Well, let's move on to the next question, and it has been sent in by Mark Cusadia. Mark Cusadia at Mark Cusadia. Thoughts on trading Dunks and Sheldrick for Mills and Butters? Future of Shees, who we kind of delved into that chat about him, so I won't touch on that. 6 trades left. Well, he's actually quite a few trades up his sleeve compared to the majority, I reckon, at the pointy end. But trading Dunks, not a big fan of that. He probably will be only out for maybe this weekend coming and will return after that. And he's someone, again, who's a lock and load F1. So, yeah, you wouldn't want to be trading him out and then left high and dry with everyone else having him.
Yeah.
And you're missing out on his big scores. And then Sheldrick, I think, he's probably asking both of these questions in combination. Dunks and Sheldrick for Mills and Butters, not a fan. I think you're probably losing points by going Dunks down to Butters and Sheldrick up to Mills, maybe gaining a little bit. But, the net gain, I think, is going to be negative.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think I'd add anything to that. I think you're also using trades that you don't need to. If I was going to do it, I'd probably trade Sheasel first.
Yep.
I don't know if he's got the cash to do that, but
yeah, as we said,
I'd rather do Shees to, or even if Shees is in your forward line, get him to Butters, and Sheldrick to Mills potentially, but again, that feels like a bit of much of a muchness. Butters doesn't necessarily have a high floor.
Yep. And Butters as well is going to drop more cash.
And that's the other thing,
his break-even's 141. Already gone down 25.7K on the weekend with a break-even. Yeah, that 141. And he's only been scoring, he hasn't scored anywhere near that since round 10 when he scored the 184. Since then, he's gone 104, 105, 118, 99, 109, and 81.
Yeah.
So he's going by those numbers in recent form. He's going to drop more cash. So you could probably hold off and wait for him. Let's round it out with the last couple of questions, Liam. This next one up, Simon
Lawther at Simon_Lawther. He asks simply, Steele or Mills? I recuse myself from answering this question.
Liam, well, you could answer it based upon the move.
Get Steele in. Get Steele in because he's out of my side, so therefore he has he's bathed himself in the fountain of youth, the holy water, and he's now healed.
Yep, he is all healed. He's cleansed himself of the Liam demons, the voodoo.
So definitely get Steele in because Mills, it's not looking good for him.
Cleansed out the demons. It's Steele or Mills. Who knows from here on out?
It's a 50-50, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are their prices?
Actually, Mills is actually priced around about 47K cheaper 47, 4, 5, 6, yeah, 47K.
Based off that, I'd probably only just go for Mills.
Based
That's probably
on
the only
price point.
reason that, makes me go one way or the other.
Yep. No, I'm pretty much on the fence, but yeah, I'd go for that as well, based upon the cheaper option in Mills.
I think if you're only really considering Steele based off his last score,
yeah,
I'd
recency
then
bias.
go for Mills. If you were considering Mills before, like if you're still considering Mills because despite the fact he scored 99, then I think go for Mills. If you're only considering Steele because he scored 140 on the weekend, then go for Mills.
Yep. No, I agree with that.
Last question,
rounding it out with Scott Walding on Facebook. He asks, might be a bit late, but thoughts on Zeeble? No, you're not late at all, mate. We've got you in. Think he plays now that Logue has done an ACL, but who knows? Even if he's named, I'm contemplating a trade. Have Weddle at D7 currently. 2 trades left, but have 260K in the bank, so can get him to Sicily in one trade.
Do it. Don't even ask.
Yep.
Do it.
Without even reading out the rest of the question, which I will do in a moment. Yes, do it. Team otherwise complete. Again, do it. Tick, tick. Thanks for all the work and info, lads. Thank you for tuning in and for your support, Scotty.
Yes.
It pretty much answers
Top
that,
fan.
I think. Top fan, also the little diamond that he's got, little icon on Facebook. So shows that he is one of our regulars. So thank you for the support, Scotty. But to answer that question,
Simple.
I think even if Zeeble gets more opportunity, it probably means that he sheds himself of the sub vest. Really, they don't invest anymore. But anyway, of the sub role. So,
but I mean, the thing is, I'm just having a look at Zeeble's scores. I mean, obviously had that one big 179, but other than that, 123, 114, 111, 107, Sicily scores 114 in the first quarter.
Absolutely. I think if I've only got 100K in the bank and I can't quite afford going straight Sheasel to Sicily, but if I could, I probably would. I'd be super, super tempted.
Yeah, so, I think based off that,
especially with cover at D7
Lloyd going out, I don't think it's going to get Zeeble to Sicily level.
No,
you've got cover, you've got 2 trades left. You're only going to do it with 1, so you have 1 trade left after Zeeble to Sis. Do it.
Yep. Do it. I like it. Well, hopefully that helps you out, Scotty, and likewise everyone else that has sent in a question. Now, Liam, before we wrap things up, let's run through our SuperCoach Edge Cup group results after round 17. Yes,
and we've got a carryover leader. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Adam with his team All Too Hard, and he had a round score of 2,620. Big score there. Yeah, and he powered up the rankings from 23rd to 19th overall. Keep going, Adam.
Well done.
Keep going.
Fly the flag for SuperCoach Edge. Keep going, mate. But the Paris flag, maybe?
We really need to get some sort of flag.
We'll get a flag. Don't worry. We'll need to add onto our props, not just have the captain's hat. We're going to be decked out with a Pirates patch, hook, everything for next season.
Looking around. I've got nothing that.
Maybe if we hit the 1K subscriber mark on YouTube, some of the monetization can go towards some of those visual props.
We'll declare ourselves a sovereign nation.
Yep, exactly right. SuperCoach Edge. But the top scorer for the round was Matthew with his team. Love this team name. Will Gould play. With a round score of 2,692, if you don't mind. Massive. And his round rank for that was 125th highest score.
Yeah, wow.
Massive. So well done to you, Maddie.
Now onto the Patreon exclusive group. Why do we even do this? We should just record ourselves and just play it back. It is T Prostitutes Inc. Jonas Goat, again, he is the leader. Of course he is, because he is absolutely flying. He is up with a round score, of 2,581. He has gone up from 166th to 154th overall. Keep going, Jonas.
Well done.
I assume your name is Jonas.
Yeah, and just let us know what your actual name is. I have a feeling that it's like a pseudonym, like it's not. Yeah, like Goat surely isn't your surname either.
You got a T here.
I'm going to guess that it's Travis. What are you going to say?
Why Travis?
I don't know. Just maybe I was thinking about Travis Barker.
Yeah.
in my
that
mind.
was where I went. I don't know why. though.
Yeah. Could be a Tom, could be Trent. Tom's probably the
Trent.
more
I
common.
was thinking Trent.
Trent. Okay. Let us
I
know,
don't know
Jonas.
why.
Just humorous. You don't have to tell us, obviously, your surname being Goat. If it is Goat, then you're the Goat. But yeah, let us know if we're along
Goat.
the lines of, or if we're correct. We'll see.
Anyway.
Humorous.
Top scorer for the round.
Top scorer for the round was Matthew, with his team Texas Legends with a score of 2,618. So very nice score by you, Matty.
Nice. And in terms of our Patreon exclusive SuperCoach Edge Cash League, the results looked like this. Papa Ball FC, he was defeated 2,368 by the Sharpshooters 2,460. So big win there. Matthew with his team Ton 618, he scored 2,573, defeating Carps Crushers 2,402. Another big win there. Damon, you took on Peter. What happened?
Yes, the father-in-law.
2,589 was your score, and you defeated Tankers 2,495. Just under 100, I guess.
Yeah.
And I was defeated by Scott Black
one.
on White 2,555, defeating me 2,509. And I have to say, I'm pretty livid about it. He was relying on Chesser. I've held Chesser this whole time, and he's done nothing for me whenever I've needed him.
Yep.
And he just worked against me.
It was Chesser and someone else, wasn't it, as well?
Chesser and Hewitt, I think, scored out of their skins.
Yeah, Hewitt scored 80 odd.
Hewitt
from West Coast.
Elijah Hewitt. Yeah.
Got bulk CBAs and played well to his credit, but yeah, it wasn't good for you, Liam.
Just it's not good for me. It was not what I needed.
Wasn't good
Let's
for anyone.
look at the ladder now, Damon.
Yep. So the ladder, league ladder, also the league ranking is 14th out of 1,187 leagues. So well done to all of us. Top in the table is myself, thankfully, DJ Trade a lot, and I am on 13 wins ahead by points scored overall by around about 206. No, 206. No, it's less. Yeah, 206. And then the Sharpshooters, they are in Brett in second spot, obviously behind there with the points scored. Matt with his team, Ton 618. Emperor, of course, third spot on 8 wins. In fourth spot, Black on White, Scott Arthur with 7 wins. Fifth spot is you, Liam, Church of Parish with 6 wins, ahead on points of Popper Ball FC in sixth spot in 6 wins, with six wins. Carps Crushers in 7th spot, 6 wins also, and Tankers rounding us out with 5 wins. And I laugh because I am casting my mind back to the request that was sent through on our live stream on Thursday, team sheet announcements, and someone requested, can Pete, considering that he gave us the chili pies, can he...
Which were delicious, by the way.
Oh, absolutely delicious. Delicious. And they weren't too hot on the way in, but on the way out, that's where you could feel the triple chili, that's for sure. But the request was, could Pete potentially partake in the hot pie challenge if he does end up finishing last? And he laughed it off. But I like it. He's not keen though, is he?
I'm not keen.
You're
The poor
not
man.
keen.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The poor man.
Yeah, that's a bit too harsh of a punishment. Even though I willingly ate mine the other day, I would probably take it back and probably eat half a pie at a time, just because of how much it burnt. It was a burning ring of fire. Let's just say that. Like, gee whiz, it's and it burns the ring of fire. So that, Liam, as I sing us out to the outro, brings us to the end of the show. But before we go, where can our listeners find us across our social channels?
Yes, on YouTube. If you search SuperCoach Edge, you'll find us there. Don't forget to like and subscribe. On Twitter, you'll find us at @SuperCoach_Edge, Damon at DemoJ88, myself at Liam Evans_95, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and eventually Threads. SuperCoach Edge. Search that, and that's where we'll be.
Very nice. And as always, if you love the content we provide, as you mentioned there, make sure to let us know by subscribing to our YouTube channel and help us in our pursuit of hitting 1K by the end of the season. We've had an uptick. We've had a bit of a rise by the grace of Abs helping us out as the kind-hearted man that he is on Twitter. Did a bit of a shout out, but also we drummed up a bit of we rallied the troops on the live stream, got a few extra subs through that. But if you can help us out, help us to help you, because you will be benefiting and reaping the rewards by the extra cash leagues we're offering next year, giveaways, merch, all that sort of stuff. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and help us on our way so we can help you. Help us help you.
Yes.
Yes.
You know what? As a bit of an incentive, maybe I'll even turn up to a live stream.
Oh, exactly.
But only if
exactly.
people like and subscribe.
Exactly.
Don't
Exactly
do
right.
it, I won't be there.
Yep. You've heard that. You've heard that first here. But that's it for another episode. Thanks as
You
always
might
for
have
tuning
people
in.
unsubscribe so I don't turn up.
Just give us a thumbs down or something, or just let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
Don't undo all the good work that we've done so far by other people jumping on our back and riding us down the fairway.
Yeah, please. Please.
But thanks as always for tuning in. All the best for the round ahead. Hopefully it is kind to you, and we'll catch you same time, same place. We'll see you then.
See you guys.